As Valentine's Day draws near, it's clear that a dessert to share with the right person or to enjoy, no strings attached, it's always a welcome treat. Today, we are suggesting a brownie with a completely new twist. The most appealing part is that you can prepare it in advance with minimal effort. Let me show you how it's done. The changes in ingredients and techniques compared to the classic recipe are subtle, but they will have a significant impact on the final dessert. The use of fleur de sel crystals, a salt harvested from the waters of the Atlantic Ocean through a special process, adds a distinctive and refined note, highlighting the depth of flavor and also adding extra texture to the dessert. Chocolate is an essential ingredient in any brownie recipe, so let's start with that. We will need 255 grams of dark chocolate for the batter and an additional 25 grams for the topping. The chocolate we've chosen has a cocoa content of 52% to ensure a rich and intense flavor. While we are on this topic, make sure you also have 75 grams of cocoa powder at hand. Moving on to the sugar, we will use two types: 100 grams of unrefined brown sugar and 75 grams of white sugar. Brown sugar is essential here, not just for its sweetness, but also because it provides a caramelized character both in terms of taste and the final color of the dessert. In addition to the fleur de sel crystals, butter will also add complexity to the recipe. I will reveal in the next step the method by which we will obtain a new layer of flavor, so prepare 115 grams of unsalted butter. Besides butter, we also need an additional dairy product, namely 50 grams of buttermilk. If you have trouble finding buttermilk in your local store, don't worry. You can use any available alternative similar to the buttermilk, with the final result being mostly unchanged. We will also use 100 grams of white flour, 3 cold eggs straight from the refrigerator, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 5 grams of instant coffee or espresso, and 60 grams of high-quality olive oil. Now, I will demonstrate the secret technique for elevating butter to a superior level of flavor. In a preheated saucepan, throw in the butter and cook it until the lactose caramelizes, obtaining brown butter. When it starts to foam, it's a sign that we are close to the desired result. With a spatula, push the foam aside and check if a brown sediment has formed at the bottom of the pan. If it looks like this, then turn off the heat and immediately add the chocolate pieces into the hot butter. However, keep the 25 grams intended for the topping intact. Break the chocolate into smaller pieces so it melts faster, and mix with a silicone spatula until all the lumps disappear and we get a glossy sauce. We also add the instant coffee granules and mix well to dissolve them. For the next step, a food processor is very handy. If you don't have one available, use a handheld mixer. Attach the whisk to the arm of the food processor and crack the 3 cold eggs into the bowl. Then add the two types of sugar, the brown one and the white one, over the eggs. Now it's time to include the vanilla extract as well. Lower the arm of the food processor and turn it on medium to high speed. It will work for a few minutes, during which time we would appreciate a like and a subscribe from you. The batter initially has a dark hue due to the brown sugar. After a few minutes, you'll notice the color change to a lighter beige and the batter beginning to thicken. This is the consistency we are looking for. The batter is now fluffy enough that we can move on to adding the next ingredient. Reduce the speed to the lowest setting and begin to gradually add the olive oil in small amounts. Wait until the oil is well incorporated into the batter before pouring the next batch. We will treat this process with patience and attention because we don't want to ruin something special. When you have finished with the oil, repeat the steps with the 50 grams of buttermilk. It's time for the butter-melted chocolate to take the center stage. Pour the chocolate over the mixture in a thin stream. Use the silicone spatula to scrape the sides of the saucepan, wasting as little as possible. Mix until homogeneous. The cream already looks extremely delicious, but we are not finished yet. The time has come to prepare the dry ingredients: flour, cocoa powder, and salt. We will mix them in a large bowl using a whisk before incorporating them into the batter. Mix well until they are homogenized. We turn our attention back to the food processor. In its bowl, we put about a quarter of the dry mixture and start the machine on low speed. We will use the silicone spatula to scrape the edges of the bowl, as you can see in the images. Sequentially, add the rest of the flour and cocoa and make sure that everything has been very well incorporated into the batter. The consistency we are looking for should look something like this. We will now prepare the baking pan. I have chosen a square pan in which I place a piece of parchment paper cut to the right size. I've left the sides longer to make it easier to lift the baked brownie out of the pan. Then we pour the entire batter into the pan, after which we level it off with a spatula to ensure a uniform thickness. Leveling the batter is an essential step for baking our dessert perfectly. We then cover the batter with plastic wrap, making sure that the wrap touches the surface of the batter, and we put the pan into the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. Ideally, we should leave it overnight or even 24 hours to rehydrate, thus ensuring the fudgy character of the dessert. Remove the pan from the refrigerator preheat the oven to 175 centigrades and quickly prepare the topping. Cut the remaining chocolate into generous pieces and place them over the batter for added texture and presentation. Lastly, all that remains is to bless our dessert with elegant crystals of fleur de sel gently sprinkled among the chocolate rocks. Place the pan in the oven for 25 minutes and rotate it halfway through the baking time for an even bake. After the baking time has elapsed, we will need to let the cake cool until it reaches room temperature. And then we cover it with a napkin and chill it in the refrigerator. Once it is cold, it is very easy to remove it from the pan by using the edges of the parchment paper. I've trimmed the edges, but if you like them, you can keep them. Cut the brownie into equal portions and serve it as you see fit. Just as I promised, here is a dessert that is very easy to prepare and extremely delicious. It is fluffy and fudgy at the same time, and the coarse sea salt gives it a unique character. The tasting notes of the coffee are unmistakable, and the brown butter really makes its presence felt. If our version of the brownie has captured your heart, you can declare your love for us in the comments below, and us, here at Ronin Kitchen, will get started on the next episode.